A BLM terrorist becomes an ambassador for Dove soap. Dietitian influencers are being paid to convince their followers that neurotoxins are health foods. And the world learns which cities will ban private vehicles and meat by the year 2030. Welcome to the Weekly Roundup, where we cover the most diabolical yet hilarious news of the week. Our top story today, a 2019 report from a climate advocacy group led by world leaders has resurfaced that outlines their strategy for reducing consumption-based emissions in C40 cities. According to the now viral post on social media, America's C40 cities will ban meat, dairy, new clothes, and private cars by 2030. The post goes on to say the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group plans to accomplish this vision by 2030. And Austin, Boston, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New Orleans, New York City, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Portland, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Seattle are all on board. Now, of course, the fact-checkers have already debunked the claims, with PolitiFact deeming the accusations false. According to PolitiFact, the report is an analysis of consumption-based emissions in C40 cities, not a plan for cities to adopt, let alone a legally binding treaty. It's up to individuals to make their personal lifestyle choices, including what type of food to eat and what clothing they prefer. Listen, nobody is banning or forcing anything, okay? All they're saying is that the world is definitely literally gonna blow up if we don't do this stuff, but you're still completely free to make your own decisions, just like you were free to choose whether you wanted to wear a mask or get vaccinated. So a wise man once told me that the truth is always somewhere in the middle. So for that reason, I never pick sides unless I've investigated the source material myself. So I skimmed through the report. Here's the highlight. It is critical that large-scale behavioral changes occur as soon as possible, and that governments and businesses support a swift transition to more sustainable consumption through policy incentives and new business models. Okay, so they won't force you, they'll just incentivize the businesses that sustain your life to force you. See how that works? Unsurprisingly, there's an endless supply of mouth breathers online who quite like the idea of having no freedom and have voiced their opinion on C40's lofty goals. The one true honker says, "I genuinely have no problem with this. It's either this now or more extreme solutions in a decade." I just want you to remember that the people who call you a conspiracy theorist believe the weather is evil and that you should eat less cheese about it. Now, it doesn't just stop there. As meat and dairy production drops, companies will be working overtime to convince you, the consumer, that eating Pop-Tarts and chemical-laden slop was actually your idea. Influencer dietitians were paid off by corrupt companies to promote unhealthy foods. Wait, are you trying to say that influencers have no integrity and can be bought off like common? Come on, I refuse to believe it. According to this article by Evie, the issue of paid influencers in healthcare came into the spotlight following a social media campaign around the hashtag safety of aspartame. This campaign was in response to the World Health Organization's warning about the risks of the artificial sweetener aspartame commonly found in diet sodas. Several dietitians took to TikTok and Instagram to claim that these warnings were based on low-quality science or were fear-mongering headlines. Dietitian Steph Grasso posted a video on TikTok telling her followers not to fall for clickbait headlines, arguing that aspartame is perfectly safe.
I discourage people to use non-sugar sweeteners when, one, it's considered safe, and two, it's actually helping people reduce their added sugar intake. This is going to cause confusion. If WHO really wants to implement new policies, maybe they should focus on ways to make fruits and vegetables more accessible and affordable rather than just using clickbait.
Guys, don't worry about clickbait headlines, okay? And definitely don't worry about the Washington Post report that exposed me as a fraud who collected thousands of dollars by the guys who represent Coca-Cola to say that. Dove is being hit by a growing boycott after hiring BLM activist Ziana Bryant as their fat acceptance ambassador. Ziana is now infamous for ruining a white student's life after she claimed she overheard her threatening BLM protesters in July of 2020. But Bryant later admitted that she may have misheard the threat, essentially fessing up that she lied about the accusation. Of course, that white student had her life and reputation ruined, and Bryant became the subject of a glowing Washington Post profile. She made Ebony Magazine's Power 100 list, starred in a Juneteenth post on Instagram's official profile, and now she can add Fat Ambassador of Dove to her list of accolades. Accolades she earned by committing the ultimate act of Western virtue, destroying an innocent white person's life. Honestly, I haven't seen anything in the news about it, but after she destroyed this girl's life, did she eat her? I get paid by older men to travel the world, and I've made $500K so far. Listen, if by travel you mean down south, and by world you mean the two saggy globes hanging between a pair of soggy old man thighs, then yes, that is exactly what you do. These euphemisms are getting out of hand. I mean, words just truly have no meaning anymore. I'm not a janitor. I'm the director of hygienic operations. I'm not a garbage man. I'm a technician of sanitation. And I am not a prostitute. I am an intimate relations service provider. Give me a fucking break. Fancy Instagram-worthy vacations aren't gonna make you happy, my friend. As they say, wherever you go, there the old dirtbag who paid for you to get there is. Speaking of old dirtbags, Joe Biden appears to be confused again as he lies about being present at Ground Zero the day after the 9/11 attacks.
Each of those precious lives stolen too soon when evil attacked. Ground Zero in New York. And I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because from where you could stand.
Yes, okay, Grandpa, that's very interesting. It's time for you to go take your nap now.
But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
No matter how bad Joe Biden is, he will never top our Prime Minister here in Canada. Justin Trudeau attended the G20 summit in India this week, where he was asked about his contribution to global challenges and had this to say.
As always, Canada is a strong voice for inclusion of gender language.
His contribution is gendered language. This is what it's come to? This guy is like the Ernest P. Worrell of politics. If it wasn't so tragic, his political career could easily be a series of campy 90s movies. Ernest locks down Christmas. Ernest ruins Halloween. Ernest does blackface for the last time. His presence in India was so embarrassingly memorable that their media was quick to roast him.
The nonsense that you're talking is emanating from sheer hubris, a total disconnected view of the world where you think that we don't see what you're up to, we don't understand what you're up to, and you can continue behaving in a totally nonsensical fashion, talking nonsense.
And to fittingly conclude the disaster of an event, the whole saga ended with a plane malfunction that delayed his return home. Wow, man, Trudeau is such a loser. Not even an inanimate object wants him inside of it. Notice how I said it? That's my Canadian contribution to gender-inclusive language. And now for my favorite news of the week. After being on the market for 50 years, an FDA panel has concluded that a common over-the-counter decongestant doesn't work. That's right, an FDA scientific review found flaws in the 1960s and 1970s studies that supported phenylephrine original approval. The studies used research techniques no longer supported by the FDA. 3 larger studies published since 2016 showed no difference between phenylephrine and placebos for treating congestion. People started posting about this on social media and debating the motive behind the move. Some chalked it up to standard FDA incompetence, but others feel the decision was more nefarious. This is a comment left by Dr. Jacqueline Salmons on Instagram. I am by no means a fan of phenylephrine, but a different perspective on this. Imagine a world where on the horizon of launching a new virus with matching vaccine, there was a removal of many over-the-counter supportive meds that would aid a patient in their recovery. I'm standing by to see if the next will be Tylenol, Motrin, Zyrtec, diphenhydramine, etc. Again, we see a government agency removing tools that citizens can use to recover. Zinc, NAC, and glutathione have been under attack as well. So I'm not here supporting pharmaceuticals, I'm supporting tools that patients can use to empower themselves, which are being removed from access. You know, the great thing about this story is that if the critical thinker who wrote this message is correct, and phenylephrine does work, but the FDA is pulling it for nefarious purposes, we can finally conclude that the FDA is corrupt. But if she's wrong, and phenylephrine doesn't work, and it took the FDA 50 years to pull it from the shelves, we can conclude once and for all that the FDA is corrupt. It's like the Schrodinger's cat of bullshit. Alright guys, that's it for me today. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out some other videos from my channel. Also, if you want to support me and this channel, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. I post 2 long-form videos there every month. Alright, bye!